Hello everyone, welcome to the 17th episode of Your Money, Your Taxes. I'm Lalit Abichandani CPA and owner of Abic CPA Associates in New York City. With me today we have Paresh Shah Paresh Shah and I will be talking about financial planning and importance of basic legal documents that we should have, and Paresh Shah will be educating us about this topic. Paresh Shah is the CEO of Paresh Shah Financial Services. He's a certified financial planner and wealth strategist for last 17 years. And he's been helping individuals and businesses co-create innovative financial strategies. He's a licensed CPA presenter. That means that he educates us CPAs and he guides us so that we can guide our clients in investments, life, disability, and long-term insurance. He specializes in pension and profit sharing plans, asset protections, estate planning, and business succession planning. Paresh graduated as chemical engineer from prestigious IIT Kharagpur, India. His strong sense of professionalism and community service has kept him very active in India as well as here in the United States. He supports healthcare and education initiatives for the financially challenged. Paresh resides in town of Jericho, Long Island, with his wife Shimul and their son Shamik. So Paresh ji, let's begin the show and let's talk about the most important documents that every family should have.
Right.
So so far in our previous discussions, you have highlighted about different insurances like umbrella, disability income, life insurance. However, the big challenge that I find are families where one breadwinner dies without proper legal documents. How do you cover that as part of your planning when you are going into these insurances and wills? How do you cover that?
So essentially, first of all, thank you very much for the great introduction. Really appreciate that. Yes, legal documents are something that we cover as part of the protection part of financial planning. That means, so whenever we are talking about insurances like life insurance, we're saying that okay, if an unforeseen event happens, that means that a person passes away, and the family needs to continue to get income because one of the breadwinners passed away. Let's say the husband passed away or the wife passed away, and in this day and age, most families are running on two incomes. One of them passes away, you need life insurance to replace their income. So along with that, creation of necessary good legal documents is also very, very important. I'll give you an example. There was a lady whom we met. I met her about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. At that time, when she met me, her husband had passed away about 15 years ago. She had a daughter who was 17 at that time and about to go to college. And she met me for a retirement planning. Now, when her husband passed away, her daughter was only 2 years old. He did have a life insurance policy, but because that policy had been purchased by him before their marriage, he had named his mother as the beneficiary. Unfortunately, she had also passed away. So now, because there was no proper named beneficiary, the estate became the beneficiary. They resided in New York, and according to New York law, if a person passes away without a will, it is called that they pass away intestate, and in that case, approximately half the money goes to the wife and half the money goes to the child. So suddenly she was relying on this life insurance, and the life insurance money was half of what she got. Plus the other half was locked out and was going to go to her daughter when she turned 18. So what has that done? All these years she was struggling to make ends meet, give her daughter the right upbringing. Why her income alone? Already we see all the time that when one of the spouses passes away, first of all, income goes down, but also the time available to give the children comes down. So here she was facing and managing somehow or the other getting through. And now when the daughter is about to go to college, daughter is going to get married, so she can't get financial aid. So it was a very difficult situation. She had come out of it. So legal documents, getting all your wills, your healthcare proxy, power of attorney, the legal basic documents are very, very important, Lalitji. They are a centerfold of the protection process.
I do understand the importance, and in my experience as well, I do know, even though I'm going to ask you this question, and I do know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway, do a lot of people you meet have these documents?
It is shocking, Lalitji. I meet, of all the people I meet, less than 20%, and I'm really being generous here, okay? Less than 20% of the people have their legal documents in place. I would like to add one thing here. The unbelievable part about this was that I have met at least 8 or 10 attorneys who did not have their legal documents by way of my doing financial planning for them. Not to say that the whole legal community is that way. They do not have it. If you look at healthcare proxy, the physicians encounter healthcare proxies almost every single day, Lalitji, and yet we meet physicians that they don't have that document. So less than 20% of people have these kind of documents.
Yes, I have seen myself when we talk about these issues. I know most you were generous in saying 20%. I would even cut it down to half or less than that. But anyway, besides will, what are the other basic documents? Everybody talks about wills because that's all you know. In my experience, nobody has heard of these other documents. So would you please give us a little more details in that?
The other two basic documents which are there are the healthcare proxy and the power of attorney. Those are the two other documents which I've been referring to a little bit when I spoke earlier.
So can you tell us a little bit more about what is healthcare proxy? It sounds very legal, so give us a little more details into that.
Before we go ahead with anything, Lalji, let me make a disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. So I don't practice law, I don't create these documents. But as you mentioned earlier, it becomes a fundamental part of anyone's financial planning. That means what we like to do in the part of our planning is to guide people as to the type of documents that they will need and then send them to the necessary attorney to get those documents drafted. So I just want to be clear about that I am not giving legal advice here, but I'm just giving, as a financial planner, some of the things that I have known personally, and from my elementary understanding, I'm going to explain what a healthcare proxy is. Basically, a healthcare proxy is a statute or a document whereby you appoint an agent, a person to make medical decisions for you when you're not able to make those decisions. What are the situations in which you're not able to make those decisions? Say, for example, when you are in coma, or you are injured in an accident and unconscious and being treated. Those kind of situations are the ones in which you cannot make the decision for yourself, and therefore you need someone else to make the decision. That person is appointed and he is known as your agent or your healthcare proxy. He makes the decision for you in consultation with your physician. So if your physician advises that a certain treatment should be done, then that healthcare proxy permits the physician to do that. But then we go one step ahead. If you say, I mentioned about coma. So there are certain times when people want to make end of life decisions. That means they do not want to be on a ventilator or do not want to be artificially kept alive. And they just want to have a dignified death. In that case, the physician has no authority to be able to do that. So since the physician has no authority to be able to do that, the person who has the healthcare proxy can make that decision on his behalf. And I've seen that if those documents are not there, person is kept on artificial life support for a very, very long time, and it's hell for the family. So that's what a healthcare proxy is.
What about the power of attorney? That's another document that authorizes somebody else to be able to make the decision. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Right. So power of attorney is essentially more concerned with the money part of things. That means that if I need someone to sign on a bank account on my behalf. It's a permission for someone to sign on a bank account or on a legal document, like if buying or selling of property, signing of leases. This becomes very important, say for example, in the absence of a person. Like normally most people own their houses jointly, or may even own investment properties jointly or bank accounts jointly. Sometimes both the signatures may be needed, and if both the signatures are needed and one of the persons is either injured, cannot sign, or the other the person is overseas on work or something, and some emergency happens, it permits the other spouse, if they have the power of attorney, to sign on their behalf. In that particular case, they will be signing as attorney in fact on the document. So say for example, if my spouse has given it to me, I will be, when she signs on my behalf, it's her name signing on behalf of Paresh Shah, attorney in fact for Paresh Shah. And so in that way, that's how it's done. There are two ways in which this can be also which the power of attorney can be given. One is limited power of attorney. The limited power of attorney can be restricted to a certain event or a certain time period. If I'm not going to be available and a certain transaction needs to take place, then I can give somebody else the authority to complete that financial transaction on my behalf. We often see that in real estate transaction, in lease transactions, in business transactions. So temporary power to a person to do some specific things. And then there's the general power of attorney, which is the permission to act in all financial matters. One very important thing to note is that the moment a person passes away, the power of attorney ceases to be valid. And from that point onward, the will takes over, and the executor in the will takes over as the person who's going to handle everything. So the power of attorney is more concerned with money, versus the will is concerned with after a person dies. The healthcare proxy and power of attorney are when the person is alive, one for medical decisions, one for financial decisions.
For right now, thank you very much for watching us, and thank you, Paresh ji, for giving us valuable information.
Thank you, Lalit ji. I think this was a very critical topic, and I'm glad we were able to cover it today. Appreciate all the questions.